There is a great significance in that passage in St. Mark. All the things whatsoever ye pray and ask for, believe ye have received them, and ye have. We are bidden to believe that what we wish has already been fulfilled, that if we take this attitude we shall obtain our desire. The benefit we derive from prayer is the harmonizing, poising, balancing of our own mind, putting ourselves into closer communion, into a more vital connection with the divine mind, through which we receive a larger supply of our Father's blessings. Prayer is the opening up of the pinched supply pipes of the mind, which shut out the divine inflow. It is the letting into our lives greater abundance from the unlimited supply which continually flows from the source of all sources. "Mary," said a young girl to a Catholic friend, "why do you carry that rosary everywhere, and what possible good does it do you to count those beads over and over?" "Oh," said Mary, "I never could make you understand what a comfort this rosary is to me. When I am tired out or blue or discouraged about anything, or when I long very much for something that it seems impossible I should ever get, I take my rosary and begin to pray. Before I have gone over half of its beads, everything is changed. The tired, discouraged feeling is gone. Or if I have been asking for something I long to have, it doesn't seem nearly so far away as before. And I know that if I don't get just what I ask for, I'll get something better." Those who are too narrow-minded or too prejudiced to see anything good in a creed which is not their own often sneer at the Catholic custom of saying the rosary. To them it is only superstition, nonsense, to repeat the same prayer over and over. These people do not understand the philosophy as well as the religion underlying this beautiful old custom. They do not know the power that inheres in the repetition of the spoken word and in the influence of the thought expressed. Anyone can prove this for himself or herself. It isn't necessary to get a rosary made of beads. You can make your own, an intangible but very real rosary. And if you say it over, not once or twice a day, but over and over many times, and especially before retiring at night, you will be surprised at the wonderful results. Is it a fault that you wish to correct? Is it a talent or gift you desire to develop and improve? Is it money or friends, an education, success in any enterprise? Is it contentment, peace of mind, happiness, power to serve, power in your work? Whatever it is you desire, make it a bead in your rosary. Pray for its accomplishment. Think of it. Work for its fulfillment, and your desire will materialize. There are many ways of praying. All our prayers are not vocalized petitions to the Almighty. They are also our inspirations, the aspirations of the soul to be and to do. Desire is prayer. The sincerest prayer may be the longing of the heart to cultivate a talent or talents, or the intense desire to get an education so that one may be of greater service in the world. That which we dream of and struggle to attain, our efforts to make good, these are genuine prayers. When Jane Addams, as a little girl, longed for the power to lift up other little girls and make them happy, when she dreamed of a time when she could be grown up and doing a great work in the service of humanity, she was praying. She was even then laying the foundations of Hull House, and the Hull House of today is an answered prayer. Her whole life from childhood up was a prayer, because it was a preparation for a great and noble work. When the child, Frances Willard, longed and dreamed in her remote Wisconsin home, she was praying and building as surely as in her later years when she was the moving power of the great organization she had brought into being. "I always wanted to react on the world about me to my utmost ounce of power," she said, in telling of her early life and aspirations. "Lying on the prairie grass and lifting my hand toward the sky, I used to say in my inmost spirit, 'What is it? What is the aim to be, O God?'" Such noble heart yearnings are, in the truest sense, prayers. The uttered prayer clothed in beautiful language, that which is delivered in the pulpit to be heard of men, may not be a real prayer at all. The collective prayer of the congregation may be a mockery. I have often been in churches where people were repeating prayers automatically, while looking all about the auditorium, watching other people, mentally occupied, while their lips moved in a so-called prayer, in noticing what they wore and how they looked. There is no real praying in such a performance as this. It is not soul expression, not heart talking. It is mere parrot talking. All mechanical mumbling of prayers in our church services is an insult to the Creator, who does not hear prayers which do not come from the heart. Prayer is the heart's sincere desire. What we long for and hope for, we pray for by our very longing and hope. The real prayer may be struggling in the heart without words. It may be a noble desire, a heart longing which no language can express. It may be voiceless or it may not. But the true prayer always comes from the heart, and it is always answered. A remarkable illustration of this is afforded in a story told by John Wesley. He was once riding through a dark wood, carrying with him a large sum of money entrusted to his safekeeping. All at once a sense of fear came over him, and dismounting from his horse, he offered up a prayer for protection. Years afterward, Wesley was called to see a dying man. This man told the preacher that at the time he had passed through the wood, so many years before, he, the robber, had been lying in wait to rob him of the money he carried. He told Wesley that he had noticed him dismounting and how, on his remounting and resuming his journey, the appearance of an armed attendant riding beside him had so filled him with awe and a great fear that he had abandoned his purpose. Balzac said truly, "When we are enabled to pray without weariness, with love, with certainty, with intelligence, we find ourselves in instant accord with power, and like a mighty roaring wind, like a thunderbolt, our will cut its way through all things and share the power of God." Everybody prays because everybody hopes and desires, has longings and yearnings which he hopes will be realized. In a sense, the atheist, the agnostic, the unbeliever, although they may not know it, pray just as much as do believers, for every longing of the heart, every noble aspiration is a prayer. We pray as naturally as we breathe, for the desire of a better, nobler life, for grander and higher attainment, is an unconscious prayer. Prayer is really our heart hunger for oneness with the divine, with the eternal. It is the union of the soul with its Maker. It is literally what Phillips Brooks described it to be, the sluice gate between God and the soul. Many people mistake the very nature of prayer and complain that it is of no use to pray because their prayers are never answered. The reason is clear and is admirably expressed in Irving Bachelor's pithy verses on faith. "Now, don't expect too much of God. It wouldn't be quite fair. If for anything you wanted, you could only swap a prayer. I'd pray for yours, and you for mine, and Deacon Henry Hosper. He wouldn't have a thing to do but lay abed and prosper. If all things come so easy, Bill, they'd have but little worth, and someone with a gift of prayer 'ud maybe own the earth. 'Tis the toil you give to get a thing, the sweat and blood and care, that makes the kind of argument that ought to back your prayer. If your prayers come back to you unanswered, it is because they are not backed by the conditions on which the answer to prayer depends, faith and work. You don't get the thing you pray for either because you don't really believe you will get it, or you don't back your prayer with the necessary effort, or because you fail in both requisites. To pray for a thing and not work for it, not strive and do our level best to obtain it, is a mockery. To ask God to give us that which we long for, but are too lazy to help get ourselves, is begging. In answer to our prayers and longings and efforts, we get that which we call out of the universal supply, which is everywhere. Every day some prayer is made visible. Something is wrought out of the invisible, manifested in the actual by those two mighty instruments, prayer and work. But if you think your stumbling block will be removed, or your desire realized without raising a finger to help yourself, you may pray until doomsday without ever getting an answer. Prayer without faith is of no avail, and faith without work is a barren virtue. In the second stanza of a little poem entitled God's Answer, Ella Wheeler Wilcox gives us the answer to the plight of the discouraged, unsuccessful soul who cries that his prayers are not heard and that no hand is stretched out to lead him to the heights he would attain. Then answered God, 3 things I give to thee: clear brain, brave will, and strength of mind and heart, all implements divine to shape the way. Why shift the burden of the toil on me? Till to the utmost he has done his part, with all his might let no man dare to pray. The answers to your prayers is right inside of yourself. They are answered by your obeying the natural as well as the spiritual law of all supply. If you don't do your part in the actual working world down to the minutest detail, your prayer is bound to come back to you unanswered.